investors, we've got a need for it because we've got the deal flow for it. So I'm here to give more than I take. So that's me.
My name is Raheem Suwani. I'm a primary care physician. I have my own clinic in Bedford, and I have other ventures with a partner of mine in real estate also. Prior to being a physician, I was an engineer with American Airlines for a long time also. I was a country rep for a company called Avial also for a long time, owned by Boeing. I used to do technical marketing for them and everything also. So I have a lot of experience in aircraft maintenance also. I've done hands-on, all that. And now I'm doing human maintenance. So yeah, the idea is to grow it and acquire more practices and people. That's what I'm doing. So all the people with the money.
My name is Pete Larson. I work with Fareed and Bruce Bay at MW Law. Fareed already said that we are a boutique powerhouse firm here in Dallas, and we focus on three things, and we do those three things really well. It's securities, so raising money, buying companies, so M&A stuff, Fareed, and all things transactional, and the finance for all of that. So that's where I'm in that space. I spent a good time in my career, quite a bit of time on Wall Street, so I kind of seen a lot, done a lot, and during downturns and upturns, so I know a bit about that. It's been a fun wave to ride. Like Fareed said, our biggest thing is we like to educate. So if you're worried about paying legal fees, just come and talk with us and see what we have to offer in way of education that won't cost you anything, and then you can see if that's the best way to go. That's what we have to offer, and I'm just looking to make connections. So.
Awesome. Braxton Yates, and my need is I'm a business broker and entrepreneur, and so right now it's just creating deal flow and quality deals to present to buyers that I have, and so that's what I need. But what I can give is really deal flow for investors or other business owners that are searching for businesses. We're on the smaller side of business, so $1 to $5 million size range, and so we'll run searches. So I have a team of searchers that will help people find businesses, and so we'll work the buy side and also work the sell side. So if you come across a business that is needing to sell and it doesn't fit your criteria or what you're looking to invest in, then send it our way. We'd love to take care of them from there and work with whoever you may be. So that's who I am and what I can give. So.
Awesome. Crystal Rumor here. See, I'm a little outnumbered tonight. Okay, used to it.
Why, because you're tall?
Huh? So my husband and I, we originate mortgage notes, and we specify that in land. That's kind of our bread and butter with land, originating mortgage notes. We also do some residential as well, single family, but we also do entitlement with land. So what I could give is some female investors, have a lot of that network, and also we have about 10 million in mortgage notes with land that we're always looking to sell, as well as entitlement, about 20 million in that as well. But we're always looking for institutional investors and small banks as well, or family offices that want to do larger packages. We do individual, onesie twosies, also large packages. So that's it.
TFW area or bigger?
So we do all throughout Texas and in Arkansas.
Okay.
Those are the two states that we focus on.
Crystal, so tell me how I would approach a family office. Like I've got a small family office in mind. I usually allocate about $5 million a year. How would I approach them for what you're talking about? Because I like what you do because it's backed. It's fairly safe. It's backed by the land, and that's kind of they're a little bit conservative. So
Yeah, I would say
busy. And anything else?
What can you give?
What can I give? Um, we have a lot of relationships in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, primarily in the smaller investment space. We run in the real estate circles. So if anybody's looking for any introductions there, we know of a lot of deal flow in, I was going to say single-family homes, but more specifically apartment complexes, multifamily, things of that nature. If that's of interest to you, we've got a lot there. We're part of a couple of nationwide networks, so if you're looking for investors or people that can do heavy lifting across the country in the investment space, in the real estate investment space, we have a lot of connections there. I'm part of a couple of groups that I feel like I could safely get you that kind of deal flow if you're looking for
We should talk again.
a gain. Thank you,
Different
Kevin.
deal.
Me first, I'm standing closer to him actually. So, I was gonna say immediately we should talk to. My name is Rujbe Sororian with MW Law as well. With these two guys, we'll be presenting a bit of education here in a bit. But yeah, we focus on multifamily, land deals, entitlements, and we do a lot of that work within our firm. Me personally, I'm like a walk and talk and Rolodex for the firm as well. So anything from capital connections to one thing we really strive to do with our firm is to keep our own ecosystem intact. So a lot of our clients get introduced to other clients of ours for very great deals or opportunities or introductions. And so we're no stranger to that. As far as what we can offer, what I can offer, education. As a consolation in addition, everybody here, we won't charge you guys for a consult to be able to come in. We're right here in Addison, right across from the Galleria. If you want to sit down and actually strategize and whiteboard anything, we're happy to have you guys come in and help. We thrive on education. We do believe that, the more educated, our sponsors and investors are, the better the deals go. As simple as that.
And if you get bored, you just go shopping.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. What I need is for these guys to call me back after I get no, I'm kidding. What I need actually is more networking, right? So exactly what you guys are talking about. I think everybody in this room, provides very good value. What I have found is we're 1 degree away from the person we do need to talk to, right? I've seen that time and time again. So what I need is everybody's business card. I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit more and see where overlap happens. Thank you, guys.
We got a new. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi everyone. You guys can call me AJ. I originally came from computer science, so I work for a tech company, and now I'm just getting into BC and all of that fellowship coming up, and just wanted to get to know more about BC and Dallas.
Perfect. Thanks for being here. Well, you know what I can give. A nationwide network and a great time at a nationwide experience called the Acquisition Conference. You'll hear about it later. But next, we're going to get into our fireside chat interview with Don Shore. We're going to hear a little bit about his story as an entrepreneur. We'll go about 15, 20 minutes there. If there's any Q&A as far as his specific story goes, then we'll have that happen. But before we do that, I want to give this gentleman the floor real quick to talk a little bit about this absolutely beautiful car and then what they're doing at Classic Recreations.
Hey, good evening, guys. My name's Matt Brenner. My colleague Israel here with me. We're happy to join you guys tonight. Thank you, Nathan, for the invitation. You came to our May 1st event, right? Where we had a lot of investors.
Justin Capital?
Okay, that would
Yeah.
be right. So we're a 20-year-old company based out of Flower Mound, Texas. We're the company building crazy cool custom cars that nobody's ever heard of. We've been 20-year ambassador for Carroll Shelby and his legacy brands. So we built 65 to 70 Mustangs and the 60th anniversary Shelby Cobra. Most of our cars are built out of carbon fiber. That car in particular is an 88-pound carbon fiber shell. Fully built, 2,350 pounds with a 1,000 horsepower engine. It does take off at about 175. Yeah. So we can't quite keep it on the ground on the track, but this is our prototype. Actually, we just finished that car up about 2 weeks ago. As it sits, that's about a $1.2 million car. We're only building 10 of those cars. So why are we here? I'm not quite sure how to answer that question, but I will tell you that So we send cars to Saudi, Dubai, UK, Canada. I mean, we're all over the world. Japan. We build cars for high-end collections that are alternative asset classes, essentially. So I have a background in medical sales professionally, but I've always been a collector of cars because I've never lost money on a car, and these are no exception. Typically, we build cars and they value about 30 to 40% about 5 years time. Part of that is because we build such low production cars. So we're only building 10 of that car. That's to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Carroll Shelby's 65 Shelby Cobra. That car was actually sort of imagined by Aaron Shelby, who's a local Dallas guy, Carroll's grandson, carries the namesake for the Shelby Foundation. And he said, build a car that sort of reimagines my grandfather's legacy with the latest and greatest. So this is a carbon fiber, space age technology, fully custom built car. We're really excited. So we build this. We build 65 to 70 Mustangs. Anybody seen the John Wick movie? The Mustang that kind of started off all the mayhem. We built that car.
No way.
Yeah, guys like Joe Rogan have showcased our cars on their podcast several times. So we built some really cool cars. You guys should come up and Flower Mountain and check us out sometime. We'll be happy to take you on a free tour and a fast car demo. So,
We're coming. Free test
yeah,
drive, right?
bring it.
Free test drive.
Yeah, free test. Well, you can't. You can get free test drive with me in the driver's seat. Put it that way. Yeah, unless you show proof of funds, then I'll let you drive the car. But happy to be here. Thank you for your generosity, Nathan.
Oh yeah. Thank you for your generosity. I mean, it takes a team to be able to put together these things. We've got a team member, or we've got a team back home in Salt Lake City that's been doing all of our media. Obviously, I'm here press and record on our camera, which is fine. But all of this is going to be recorded. It's going to be cut up. You guys can see all the reels and everything. And then also you have access to our YouTube channel. YouTube channel is just Acquisition IQ. You can also find us at acquisitioniq.co. So however you guys want to do this, if you like to sit, you want to stand. My whole thought behind this is, one, you've got to have inspiration from a seasoned entrepreneur. We've got Don here. He's got this beautiful facility. I want him to share a little bit about his past as working at Coca-Cola as an executive for over 30 years, having gone through a few different acquisitions, and then also he now has started this brand. And it takes a lot of effort, insight, and also creativity to be able to create something just like what he has today. So wanted to highlight him, but also get to know a little bit of his story. So we're going to take a seat right here, and we just want to welcome Don to the stage. Thank you.
And welcome you all here. Let's see if I got any systems there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Don. So we're here. We're in your office.
Great.
So share with us a little bit about how you got to come here and obviously some of the background that you have working as an executive. So share with us today where you come from.
Okay. So I'm not an entrepreneur by training. Maybe that's an entrepreneur wannabe because I served in corporate for 31 years. So I worked for the Coca-Cola Company. I moved 7 times in the United States. I was last VP of the Food Service Division, which is out of Dallas. I had about 10 to 13 states when I was half a lifetime ago. Then we moved to Japan, and I was Senior VP managing all the sales business there. If you don't think our family is flexible, we left Japan and moved to India for 3 years. I was CEO for Coke India. Bought almost all of the Coke bottlers that were there. Those of you that know Thumbs Up or Limco or some of those brands, we acquired all those. So that was a great experience on acquisitions from the other side of it. Had an interesting article written about, I was the 3rd CEO. If you know brands, they left India in '77 when India became very inward looking. And so in about 2000, all those brands came back. While the Coke bottlers didn't have Coke products, they then created their own, which Thumbs Up is similar to a Masala Cola, similar to Dr. Pepper. Limco's a lemon lime. So they created their own really great brands. The first 2 CEOs were there before me. I would argue they all tried to kill the brand and make Coke the international brand. So when I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, the man asked me, first question was, how in the world sort of this crazy story that I lived in Dallas, Texas, and I thought if you own Coke and Dr. Pepper in the same market, you basically own the soft drink market. And so when I saw Thumbs Up in India, I thought, this is just crazy. Like this is a national brand. Like it is really a national brand, more so than Coke probably will ever be. So I simply cut the Coke budget in half, and I put 40 million on Thumbs Up, 40 million on Coke, and voila, everybody starts growing, which is not that surprising. So it's kind of one of those brand experiences that I don't think I will ever forget. I left there and was CEO for Africa and the Middle East, and had a great experience there, managing the Middle East, managing Africa. We lived in London because it was not easy in those days to get, Dubai wasn't quite as happening as it is now. So I couldn't really get to Oman from Johannesburg on a Friday night. So that was my base experience. I came back to the U.S. to run a joint venture with Procter & Gamble. It fell apart during valuation. We were putting a number of assets together, and so I was asked to be that CEO. And that's one of the tricky ones when you suddenly don't have a job. So our chairman said, go to Minute Maid at Houston. You like healthy beverages. So I ended up in Houston, and that's where I finished my career. My business partner is a James Beard awarded chef with a PhD in biochemistry. He was a consultant to me at Coke, and so at 55, I said, I'm not going to retire. If you want to go do something, if you'll do the science, I'll handle the marketing, and let's just make an agreement. We won't call anyone and ask for help because we're already 55. And I thought we could probably figure out how to build a brand. So welcome, here we are. Be careful what you ask God for. The circle is bigger than you think it is. So, yeah.
I want to talk about vision. I think each one of us have visions of what we have for our, our lives, and then also where we are currently at in our business. Can you speak to that, and then how you're able to establish that vision that then allows for you to run as a strong executive, but also CEO, because we're all CEOs of our business, right? So can you explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, vision is so important. And I think because I was working the brand side and he was working the science side, I'm not a me too follower in brands. That's never been of interest to me. So for me, finding a way to differentiate, however small or however big we were or are or might ever be, differentiation was probably the most important thing for me relative to the brand, to the taste. So we anchored in on, so the food industry is pretty well regulated in the United States. You have nutritional panels, you have a lot of stuff going on. The liquor business to me is like the Wild West. You have zero nutritional panels telling you what's in it, and the details. So I kept thinking on vision, we needed to kind of anchor in on something that we could begin to own ourselves. Again, size didn't matter, just get the strategy right first. So the vision was, we're always going to use real plants to make better spirits. So that was, and there are a lot of people that use extracts, there are a lot of people who use artificial flavors. There are a lot of hangovers from certain beverages, and that's because there's so much sugar in it and some other artificial ingredients. And so that vision gave me the anchor that I felt like we needed. And then we went about each taking his task, R&D versus mine, in marketing. And I think we differentiated the product every step of the way, and I think we still do. So that's historically, the country of India, some of the rulers, Nehru for example, felt that the pie wasn't really going to get bigger, and you better grab for what you could get. And where Singapore, to me, in many ways, they would bring in consultants because they always felt the pie was going to grow substantially. If I'm stepping on anybody's toes, I'm sorry, this is how I feel about it. So I felt like I needed a vision that everybody could buy into that would almost be around teamwork. And so we simply called it Do the Right Thing. And do the right thing, it sounds so soft, I guess, in some ways. But then when you sit down with the groups of people and you talk about what does do the right thing mean to you, and how does that integrate into your team, and what will that look like if we're successful at doing that? And so that sort of, to me, as you as CEOs, as you're doing that sort of thing, I think that's important. And it may mean nothing to someone outside, but inside it may be incredibly important. And it may be just that type of leadership. Because I didn't want to lead as an American trying to tell smart Indians that are smarter than me what to do. I wanted to offer up some stimulus that we could all kind of get behind. So now we go to acquisitions. And I think interesting in India, when we bought all the local brands, and the man who had started them was also a bottler, Ramesh Chauhan, and a very smart guy, trained in the U.S., educated in the U.S. But when we bought those brands, I think we paid $40 million, and they're billion-dollar brands today. So, but that part really doesn't matter. It was just an incredible acquisition. But we needed all those brands if we were going to be able to acquire all the bottlers at the same time, because we had to go integrate everybody together. So that was a person before me who made the acquisition. And then when I got there as the third CEO, several people had already alienated the relationship with the guy who was the visionary behind all those brands. So literally every week I started having a dosa every week, one afternoon a week. I would just go to his house and we just sit and we work our way through it. He was the Delhi bottler, his brother was the Bombay bottler. They didn't speak to each other, so I had to interpret between the two of them, as typically some Indian families have had issues like that before. So that was one that somebody led with something, but if you don't follow that pathway, it's not going to work in my mind. So that then leads me to another story. Odwalla, any of those of you that can remember Odwalla, a California brand, had killed 5 people, as I recall. So for a conservative Coca-Cola company, it was probably the hardest acquisition we could get through. And yet I was coming at it as CEO of Minute Maid, and I loved healthy beverages, and I thought that what they were doing was hitting all the touchstones of healthy beverages. This was back, smoothies were kind of just starting, and you know, you were using all great product. But there was not a lot of pasteurization, there was not a lot of protection to some of those ingredients. But, so that's one where we did acquire it. I think it was $160 million. Getting corporate Coke people through things like that, you've got a room of 40 people all with their own self-interest. And as you're buying deals or selling deals to corporate, you already know it's not the easiest slog to get those through. But we got it through, and then I have to say, then it was sort of let go along the way. So typical of corporate now, they're, in my mind, most corporates are not innovating, they're buying, and then after they're buying, to me, they're not managing the business very well to integrate it into what they already have. And so I think it's just one of those that if you want to see a brand continue to grow, as a little mini entrepreneur like me today, I don't want to sell to that guy. I want to sell to somebody that has the same passion I have about it.
That's really insightful. I think the other insightful, piece of wisdom I'd like to extract from you is the integration process and the relational dynamics between, you have one company and then in another company, right? But again, it's the people that run the company. So let's talk about the relational connection that you have to make in order to make and get one of those deals through.
sort of have to be done somewhere else in the short run. And it's a small business where Minute Maid's $1 billion brand. And Minute Maid's has a concentrated, Minute Maid now has Simply Orange, and so they have a somewhat fresh product. So to me, the hard lifting is going through all of that beforehand to get the buy-in from everybody so that they say, yep, I think this is really gonna work, or I don't think it's gonna work, and you should be willing to walk away if it doesn't fit the business model that you have. I mean, Coke has a great moat around distribution, and they do it all over the world really, really well. But some stuff doesn't fit, and so many of the acquisitions I think we made, they never really fit Coke. So part of that is just doing all the due diligence beforehand, and that's an internal process. Has nothing to do with who you're buying it from. In fact, keep them away and don't let them keep selling to you, because you need to go sort out what you think you can do. That would be a thought I would have.
What are some of the things that you think you haven't done as well, or you didn't do as well in the past that maybe people here, could derive some wisdom from, as far as through your acquisitions?
Probably just what I said. I think I was a deal pushing guy for Coke because I felt like we weren't doing it ourselves, and I wanted to go acquire some things that would give us halo of healthy. I didn't want to change Coke, but I wanted to have halo that would have this connotation of the healthier products. And I thought, well, I could help with that. When I'm looking at the portfolio, you would feel better about it. By the way, once you leave the United States, sugar and Coke aren't as demonized as they are in the United States. It's not at all. In Africa, in Ghana, I had one year created 7,000 jobs. They were street corners with igloo coolers, umbrellas. We gave the person a crate of Cokes. By the time they sold the first crate of Cokes, they had enough money to generate the next crate of Cokes. So the president, Jerry Rawlins, said to me, "Do you know you created 7,000 jobs?" And it was all, of course, set up, but I said, "Mr. President, I couldn't have done it without you." So, but those stories are immense for Coke all around the world, and they're pretty good. We didn't accept AIDS until I got to Africa, really, but we didn't talk about it until I got to Africa in 2000 or so, and I immediately started the Coca-Cola Africa Foundation, and it was generally focused on HIV/AIDS, and it should have been 20 years earlier, but we didn't have the guts to talk about it 20 years earlier. And so timings are crazy on things, but we've raised a lot of money, and the first guys that got it were our truck drivers who all had AIDS, and they were all in the hinterlands of all of Africa. And so those are some things that I think are positive about Coke. Negative for me, like things I could have done better. I always could have managed better and listened more. I mean, the old saying, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm sitting here talking to you, but I'm sure you know it. But listening, I can't think of anything more important than listening. And sometimes you get the answer, you don't even have to say anymore. The answer will come from the person who's talking to you, even in a deal structure. Because I think those people want to see their brand live on too. So.
Well, speaking of brand, I'm excited to get into what you're building here. Obviously, we're in this building, and for those online, you can see there's a car behind us. Obviously, this whole building is what's the square foot here?
We're about 7,500 square feet in this space.
Say 7,500. So share with us just a little bit more about
Yeah,
the brand,
yeah.
and then also how we can here be involved in what you're trying to do, and how can we best support you.
Classic, what I'm not good at. I didn't want to own a distillery. I wanted to build a brand, sell the brand, go move on to the next thing, as lots of us do. So I thought the liquor business was probably like the Coke business. There's a funny story. We call Coke bottlers first generation, who worked really, really hard. We call them Coke bottlers. Second generation we call son of bottlers, SOB. Third generation we've refranchised. And I don't mean this in every instance, but the Coca-Cola company controls those franchises. government of the United States gives a license for the most part in perpetuity to a liquor distributor. And for me, I didn't understand that. I thought, well, they must be like Coke bottlers. They're out really doing their job. And what I found out as the smallest guy in the block, they could care less about me. They're gonna charge 25% margin whether I like it or not. And they're not gonna do anything to earn that 25% other than tell me they'll get the product to the store or to the restaurant. And so my naivety to this industry, I wanted to be in this industry because I felt like I knew beverages. And now I know that the categories can be, the industries can be so different. You just gotta be really careful. So that's what I learned, which led me to then COVID, and this distillery became open. So suddenly I said, wow, I need to buy a distillery because I obviously can't tell my story to consumers any other way. And by the way, small craft distillers get an 80% discount on the first 100,000 proof gallons of liquor sold. So I get an 80% tax reduction on every bottle I'm selling right now because I put the investment in this business. I didn't get it before, and I wasn't focused on that. But when you start thinking like how quickly can I start cash flowing, I thought owning this distillery was probably the fastest way. And so today we've now figured out how to run half of our business wholesale, liquor stores, restaurants. Half of our business comes out of that room selling bottles and cocktails. And those two together have us cash flowing today. And the revenue off of that is very small, and we're cash flowing, so we don't have to put any money in the business today. And I'm buying $50,000 a pop for glass. I'm buying a forklift in the next month. You know, those things are just all adding up, but I'm still cash flowing, so I'm not having to put anything more in it. So, I'm learning a lot in it. I can come back to saying I built the brands correctly, however. So I designed the bottles after a Frank Lloyd Wright building, and I can show you where that building is. Robert is a master chef. He's a James Beard awarded chef, and he has a PhD in biochemistry. He cooked with Julia Child. So when he tells me I'm gonna use real plants to make better spirits, I'm on board, and I know we can differentiate ourselves. The brand is Roxor, which is palindrome, which is on the rocks, shaken or stirred. That's a nod to the cocktail culture. So I feel as though when I grew up at Coke, we said when the lights go out and you reach in your fridge, you'll know the Coke bottle by its contour shape. I said to my wife, when the lights go out and you reach on your bar cart, I want them to feel the windows of the bottle and go, oh, that's the Roxor bottle. So I bring a lot of institutional knowledge from Coke as I come here. And so we've spent the last 3 years trying to get the brand right, the package right, the taste right. And I'm not sure, given who you all are, I'm not sure I want to take it at 71 through the full distribution to international markets in 50 states. And so at some point, I would like to say, let's give it to a young somebody that knows this industry well that can take it and go run with it. And so I'm not sure I'm ready to do that yet, but I'm ready to think about that. And so my important part was demonstrating to I wanted to build a brand. That's what I was interested in doing, and I'm pretty sure we built a nice brand.
Absolutely. Well, we just want to say again, thank you for being a part of the Acquisition IQ, interview process here, and then also thank you for sharing your story. I want to open the floor real quick for any questions that you guys may have about the journey, about what he's been through. Go ahead.
I have a question for you. I would imagine a lot of people probably think off the top of their head that they could build a brand, right? So what made you realize you could actually do this? Because I think to most people it's like, oh yeah, just do the work, build the brand, but what is unique about this that we don't get?
I think I was around brand building for 30 years, and it reported to me in Africa, the Middle East, India. Didn't report to me in Japan, but I was pretty well on the team. So I felt like I knew the fundamentals of product, package, all of those elements. And I think it's a lot harder than we think it is. And so laugh at me. He said, "Wow," he said, "Dad, you just spent so much time." He said, "You must have done a lot of drinking while you created this brand." And I said, "No, I guess I did." So I don't know, and it was I was passionate about it because I almost said, I don't care if the brand succeeds or doesn't succeed. I would like for it to succeed today, but as we were building it, I wanted the brand to stand that I could go to Tokyo, where I'd spent really great years of my life, and know that this product would fit into Tokyo if we did it. Harry. And by the way, it's Prince Harry the Third, so he's our third one, so he has the same name as the other two. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. It's always great to hear someone's story along the way. Two questions. Number one, have you entered into tasting contests, I guess, for better word, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word, and how have you done? And secondly, have you considered doing what the guy who owned the U.S. rights to Smirnoff did years ago, creating a unique drink that is the Roxor drink with particular one of your liquors?
Thank you. The gin is Texas First Gin. It's a triple gold medal for package and taste. The bourbon just won 2024. Fred Minnick, of those of you that know Fred Minnick from Kentucky, he's a pretty well-known bourbon guy. So it won a platinum award. I was very nervous. This is the world's first botanical bourbon. We're putting small amounts of 20 plants in the barrel with the bourbon for 6 months. So literally nobody had done it. So I was worried to enter the contest, but I thought, if it fails, I won't tell anybody it failed. At Coke, I would never think that way, but finally I'm now becoming an entrepreneur. It won a platinum in the 2024 contest. The vodka just won a gold medal at LA Spirits Award Contest. So that, I feel pretty confident. Once you taste our products, you'll know that the quality is exceptional. And we labor very, very much to make sure that they are. Tell me the second half of the question is.
Have you considered creating a unique
Yeah,
drink?
yeah, great cocktail. So I grew up in the food service business. I converted Chili's from Pepsi to Coke in about 1992, and it was one of the fondest. I don't know if you know the fountain business, but it's a binary sale. You usually either have Coke or Pepsi unless you go to Quick Trip or 7-Eleven. So you build some pretty strong chops in selling, and so I can remember that acquisition is a really cool thing to go remember. But where I was going with that was that's the restaurant business and the bar business, and that's where I really started. And again, not knowing the liquor business, only now to realize that generally bartenders at the end of the night at 12 to 2, when they're had a couple of shots or whatever, kind of forget to order sometimes for that next order. So if you're not on the cocktail menu, which is a really good idea, and usually it's a pay for play usually. So yeah, I'm competing against Tanqueray, Bombay, who have huge budgets and have the ear of Glazers or Republic. So it's a little bit harder. And then I realized with Ray, who's here with me tonight, our manager, liquor stores buy 6 bottles at a time, and I can go do a tasting in a liquor store, and I can pretty well sell those 6 bottles in a 2 or 3 hour tasting in the store. So that led me to say, I'm just not going to go focus and worry about right now food service. I don't have enough money, cash flowing to go put reps in the market. I in fact tried it, and I lost $250,000 in 1 year and didn't have the sales results. And so I'm today talking to people this past week, a big vodka potential company who's not from the United States is coming to us asking, can you help us? We're just losing money hand over fist with sales reps. And so that's a good idea, and I love the idea. Our signature drink is called the Roxy. It's sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. It's the #1 cocktail at Cafe Pacific in Highland Park Village. He told me he will never take it off the menu because it's the greatest drink, and we use fresh grapefruit, and grapefruit can be very polarizing. Some people can't take it because of meds, but the drink is so good, it's probably one of our best sellers here too. So I keep coming back to it because I think we have a good idea around it.
Have you ever considered making absinthe? Bringing that
I
back?
haven't. My son made an incredible martini that is out of this world, even a bourbon espresso martini. So that would probably be one of the next products. And then I have one on the shelf that is an adult Fireball. Probably wouldn't go in this fancy bottle, but I always think Fireball's full of sugar, made with Canadian whiskey, not bourbon, and always includes a hangover. I thought I could make an adult one that would be really good. You're welcome to try it when you're here. It's outstanding. So we probably had that one ready by fall for the holidays. And I have to figure out how to get that word better, adult Fireball, out. So that is a marketing task. And to not get sued at the same time by Sazerac.
Does it cost you to get on shelves in a liquor store just like it does to get on shelves in a grocery store?
No. It's
Just
a
that
pretty
there's
good,
demand, they'll
they're
say-
pretty good rules that in general won't let you pay just to get on the shelf. However, COVID, the sales were way up for liquor stores, so the de-stocking has been a tragedy for us and everybody else. So the good news, whatever we lost, say a 10% loss in liquor stores, has been more than made up in this room. We're running 30% ahead this year. And that's with margins that are probably more than double margins in the wholesale business.
And that's even, like, not even a great, like, as far as retail goes, this isn't like the mecca of retail, right?
Right.
So they're coming a long ways to get your stuff.
Yeah. So, but we're doing fine. Total Wine has all have our gin, they have our bourbon. Vodka's just being released. Stag's fine, goody fine. We're in Arkansas, do very well there. Total Wine California picked us up in a number of stores just for the gin without us asking. So that helps us know we got a good brand, got a good product. But again, really boutique company, and I would say to you, if you say, I know a family that has that 30-year-old that's now had corporate background, they've done the finance background, they've got it ready to go, they're ready to run their own business, I would say come bring them to me and let's sit down and talk, because I think this brand is ready, and it doesn't have to be reinvented. Of course, you can go tweak it any way you like, but the brand is very solid on a brand architecture.
Well, let's give, one last question. One last question right here.
Just gonna pick your brain on, like, I don't know if I'm right or not, but
You can turn the chair too.
That's good. All right.
so with Pepsi, they invested heavily in diversifying this Pepsi. And I was just wondering, Coca-Cola was just concentrated on beverages. Was that a good move, bad move? What do you think? Did you want to push there for that?
I think I always had hoped we would do alcohol, whether it was just a part of alcohol or not. When we were doing the deal with Procter & Gamble, they were giving us Pringles, which in my mind, while it's $1 billion brand, I never believed it was the greatest brand, and it never held up to Lay's, of course, and all of their products. So again, their distribution of Frito-Lay is as good as Coke and Pepsi is to me. So I mean, that's what you bought, that too. So the restaurant side, since I grew up on the restaurant side, we always said we'll never compete against the restaurants. Now they've spun them off. But for a long time, our story to our customer was, they're gonna give the best deal to Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC, and there's no chance you're gonna get the best deal as a Mexican restaurant, a chicken restaurant, or whatever, So that was always pretty good ammunition. And by the way, the Coke fountain business is an 80 share business in the United States. So it was our first business, and we've done it really, really well. So well-trained people, face to face with the customer all the time. I think we never had to apologize for much in that business. So I never thought we should consider restaurants. I did think there was probably some adjacent, but I probably leaned toward liquor as an easier one, just because I thought beverages. I'm sorry it's been so hot, but we're working on now these are 10 tons of air conditioning, which are off because they're loud. So next time you come, hopefully there'll be a new system that is quiet. So, but maybe it makes you thirsty. We always say give them hot and Coke, and they'll have another Coke. So thank you for coming here.
Thank you. Give Don here a round of applause. So, start in about 5 minutes. But if you do it at like a pause or something,
Okay. Got it.
and I'll like stop.
Probably do it around 25 minutes. Yeah, I don't want to.
That's best. And I'll have my timer on my phone too. It's weird doing all the media stuff. I have like this blog and I'm like pretty good at it.
Is there no adjustment for that setting anywhere?
No, it's because they shifted. It's a whole thing. They shifted from China or something like that, and there was like some regulation on like memory. It's weird. Like I read about it too because it's really it kind of screws it up, honestly. But anyway, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
guys and gals, we're gonna begin the next portion of our meeting today. Are you leaving?
Yeah, I gotta head out.
Alrighty then.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Alright, guys. Get into this, so feel free to sit down right here. A nice little introduction for what you guys are about. Alright, we're gonna give them some time here.
Okay,
Might as well pull that air conditioning over.
Alright, guys, well, thank you for just continuing to be a part of tonight. I just wanted to introduce two gentlemen here that have been gracious enough, one, to partner with the, yeah, if you wanna click good on that, yeah. Alright, so these two gentlemen, Pete Larson here, and then also Fareed, they're working with a company called MW Law. So MW Law is a boutique powerhouse firm focused on M&A, corporate structuring, and real estate private equity. The firm combines legal expertise in mergers and acquisitions, commercial real estate, private securities, syndication and funds, and corporate law. With Stewart title affiliation as a one-stop shop for M&A and real estate investment deals. They pride themselves on an impressive track record of structuring over $2 billion in transactions annually across a diverse array of assets. We just want to say thank you so much for joining us today at the Acquisition IQ National Tour. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about business acquisitions. Okay, that's one thing we'll touch on. restructuring, you guys know what restructuring is, right, of a company? And I know you've had extensive experience on restructuring and looking at ways that you can, from an acquirer standpoint, it's really important to understand, what a distressed asset is and then when you should make that acquisition. So can you share with us a little bit of insight?
Yeah, there's a lot of risk and sometimes a lot of reward when you're trying to catch one of these falling knives. There's been great stories of turnaround success, and then there's been obviously sometimes it's better just to kind of stay away and try to put together shattered glasses and easy. But if for people that are looking to buy distressed companies, I would say the best way is actually buying assets out of a bankruptcy. And the reason for that is, you get, there's a 363 sale process that happens when you buy assets out of bankruptcy. And the beauty of that is that you get a federal court order saying that these assets are free and clear of all liens, claims, and encumbrances, okay? So that's super important, because, you can have a purchase agreement that says that, and that's great, but when you have a federal court order that says it, it's much better. But, if you're buying it outside of bankruptcy, then you gotta be really careful on things like, making sure you get, payoff letters from lenders. You get, language in your documentation saying, specifically what assets are included, what assets are excluded, what liabilities are included, which are excluded. And you need to, kind of make sure that, a seller is gonna indemnify you for losses that come up, based on, what's excluded. Because, there's this concept in, distressed M&A called successor liability, which is, where, creditors can sometimes come back and do tax claims, employment claims. You don't wanna deal with, stuff that you don't wanna deal with. So it's super important to kind of know what you're getting into and planning around some of those kind of toxic risks that are out there.
I mean, you've listed quite a few things that I'm sure not everyone knows about, so it's kind of interesting then when you don't know what you don't know, right? So share with us your insight as to what we just had asked, restructuring of a company, and then if there's real estate that's involved, how would you go about that?
Yeah, so real estate, you have to remember, comes in different forms, right? We call them the sticks of ownership. Most people think of real estate as you either own it or you don't own it. But there's also real estate rights in a lease. So when you're buying a business, you're either buying real estate to come to that business, or you're buying, a leasehold estate is the technical term for what you would be buying if you were getting into a lease or taking over someone's lease. So if you're going to do that in an acquisition, then you really need to be talking to your attorney about how it is you should be acquiring that. So it really depends on if you're buying, if it's an asset sale or a stock sale, and whether or not you're buying the asset under a different entity than you're running the business, or whether you're gonna run it all as one. So there's a lot of considerations to take into account when real estate is involved in a transaction like that.
Yeah, and I'll add that, with any type of distressed transaction, you're almost always going to be taking assets, not stock of a company. Now, there could be, rare situations where, I'm not gonna get into intricacies, but, you might wanna take stock in a distressed transaction. Those are far in between, but generally gonna be asset sales.
And a lease can be an asset. So if you want the lease, if you want that building that they're using, and you wanna step into the place of that lease, they can assign that lease to you. There's a process to that.
Very strategic in nature, right? Like you were saying, there's both service or product of a business, net bringing the revenue, and then you have the physical asset that is either leased or owned, which is in essence two different businesses. Because you use the real estate in a separate transaction.
Or you might be buying the real estate and only using a portion of it. Like, some of my clients who are medical doctors who are buying buildings along with it, they might use one space of that building, but they're leasing out to other people the rest of the space. So that could be a whole different income stream that you may or may not have thought about.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, where sometimes buyers will buy a business that includes a real estate only to kind of turn around and flip the real estate, kind of free up cash, get rid of some of that SBA debt or other debt, and then, open up that cash to, expand. But, that typically requires, paying off the lender for the portion share of the real estate.
I would say there's probably people that, just buy all the just buy
leveraging, because real estate, the market for borrowing money in real estate is much more defined, so you can leverage that to, use the money for whatever you're doing as a business. And then you can also, leverage the rentals that you're getting out of the other spaces, or you can leverage the depreciation that you're getting off the property to, so there's a lot of strategy with real estate.
Talk to us more about team during a transaction. I think it's really important for us all here to know who we need on our team to be able to make that acquisition, or obviously make the sell of our business, go through a good transaction. So share with us a little bit more there.
Yeah, so if I were to, buy a business today, I would first start off with, a lot of times sellers will operate with business brokers, but I would probably want to talk to a buy-side business broker too, to kind of help me find a specific target that I'm looking for. I think, it's important to, and if you don't know what the target is, maybe they can help you define that. From there, a quality of earnings expert, I would say, is a very important part of my deal, because I don't have necessarily the background to kind of analyze, the financial statements and tax returns and things like that. So, I want to make sure, where are there going to be cliffs and valleys in cash flow. I want to make sure that the bank statements, reconcile with, what the seller's reporting, so there's not a lot of, miscellaneous unreported income that they're saying is there, but, is maybe not there, or be taken away. And then, of course, M&A counsel, to kind of help with, diligence aspects, mitigating risk with, the whole structure of the process. And also for planning. With every client that I sit down and talk to, I talk to them about, what's your exit gonna look like? Well, let's not talk about this acquisition, let's talk about 5 years, because there's steps that we can take up front that'll kind of, make it have huge rewards down the line in your exit, and so what you're planning for. So that's how I would structure a deal if I was buying a business today.
I would just add one thing is, and this is not a pitch for high fees, because we're not a high fee firm, but I would just say, knowledge is good. So you definitely want an attorney and a CPA that has the knowledge. And you can always, barter for the fees that they charge. But I would say never, 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 this is gonna be like a triple negative probably. Never jip yourself on the accountant and the attorney, because they have strategies that you don't know about that's gonna save you way more money than you'll ever spend on that person. So just, I know it's scary, I know it's awful to get that bill, but just understand that that's part of the investment that you're making, and make sure you don't jip yourself on that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the time, and transactional attorneys will say it all the time, but that expense that you pay up front, the whole goal is to avoid these $100,000 multiple six-figure litigation landmines that can probably have been prevented if you just kind of taken the right steps to plan ahead of time. So it's super important.
So good. We'll take questions here at the end. A few more that I have here. In regards to, we just structured about, hey, I'm about to exit, I'm about to purchase, the team members that are needed, and then let's move into the financial stack. It's important that we have a financial stack to be able to make that acquisition. If we're a fund, or if we're a business that's starting a fund, could you
they just came into effect earlier this month.
Just recent that that happened.
Yeah, just earlier this month, so I'm still, going through them myself to making sure I got them all right. But, they're not, too burdensome that you can't, do an acquisition with SBA debt, but there's certainly, things to be mindful of.
Yeah, whenever you're talking about government money or government, money that's not government money, but money that is guaranteed by the government, there's gonna be a lot more hoops to jump through and a lot more underwriting, factors. So the more expensive debt, less hoops, cheap debt, more hoops. That's usually the way it is.
Yeah. And then typically there, and then I guess depending on what your deal size is, some of these loans are syndicated where you'll have, some portion of it, it's often through the same bank that, some of it'll be an SBA portion, and then they'll come in and also do a conventional portion of the loan. If you're trying to, let's say, buy a $10+ million business, there might be an SBA part of it, a non-SBA part of it, and then whatever the rest of your equity, is gonna look like.
Yeah, I'd like to make tonight a little bit of an interaction as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'll open the floor again for questions right over here, maybe over here, and then I'll repeat that question so everyone out here can understand.
I was really going to,
Curveball.
I was really going to, follow on what Pete Fareed said about, everyone who's doing a business, buying a property, they need a team of advisors, right? And I spent several years in public accounting, tax guy, and it's so frustrating, because I tell my clients, right, before you make a major decision, I want you to meet with your attorney and me at the same time.
Right.
And invariably, they'd call me, hey, I met with my attorney yesterday, and they said. And then I'd be listen to what they had to say, and I'm like, well, from a tax perspective, that's a horrible idea.
Right.
So you need to invest, if you don't have the money to invest in your wealth manager, your attorney, your CPA, your insurance person, all being together, you shouldn't be doing whatever you're doing. You need all the voices in the room at the same time. Otherwise, you're gonna end up spending more money going person to person to person, and then coming back and starting over, because someone else said, oh, well, that won't work because of this. So get your professional advisors together. Make sure that you create the one page that you need to work from. And you can't do that unless you have all the voices in the room from the beginning.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times the attorneys are the executioners of what the CPA and tax attorney or tax advisor gave us. So a lot of times we're executing on what their strategy set up for tax reasons, which, we don't always think about. Not since I had a professor called the tax ninja in law school have I thought about taxes. I usually let the CPA do it.
Yeah, sometimes it's even less than that. Sometimes it's, hey, here's an LOI, I need to close this, by the way, in 3 days.
Right.
Can you help me? And it's like, okay, well, this is not ideal, but, we get those calls pretty regularly. And so you kind of gotta be like, well, I hope, you've thought about the tax consequences, I hope you've done the financial diligence, I hope you've assessed the legal risks, I hope you've done all this stuff.
small business owners just now right and left, and obviously we're on this tour going across the nation talking to people just like what you're talking about. We want people to be more educated on their exit, but also more educated on their acquisitions. You know, and it can completely be life changing. You have the right team, like what you guys have been able to do, and then also the right people. So we just want to say thank you so much for joining us again here at the Acquisition IQ National Tour, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. I'm going to open up the floor. Anybody who have questions? Yes.
Two things. I read about a case in Delaware 2 years ago. The seller paid the buyer $40 million to sell their company. That's backwards, right? Because of indemnification, it wasn't defined right. So maybe Free or your colleague could talk about kind of the importance that the business owner understands exactly what's in the purchase agreement. And this was an oversight by seller's counsel, but those could happen. So maybe talk a little bit about the collaboration needed to really make sure that agreement is right.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, there's so much that goes on with an M&A transaction that the parties probably aren't actually looking at the paper, and it's okay if they're not, but as long as they're being advised on what things mean, and because what the purposes of some of these what reps are, what warranties are, what indemnification provisions are. If you're buying a business, this is your reps and your warranties. These are a couple things. They're one, your risk mitigation strategies, but also your playbook for how you're going to operate the business, because you want to know about are the assets functioning, or who are the employees, do you have employee benefit plans, what are your environmental practices. These are critical aspects that you're going to need to know when you take over the business. And then the teeth to that is your indemnification provisions. Like, how can you take action in case some of those reps are wrong? Because if you have $100,000 claim coming at you post closing, and your indemnification provisions are super soft, well then you're gonna have to go sue and spend $100,000 to go collect that 100,000. Which no one wants to do, because litigation is costly and it drags out. So there's things you can do to kind of prevent some of these issues up front. On the sell side, these reps and these warranties. On the flip side, these are going to be the teeth that the buyer's going to come back to you to eat away at your earnout, offset your seller note, or potentially assert claims against you. And obviously you want to make sure that you've got the language right, so it adequately captures what you're trying to convey and the risk that you're willing to take on for the reps. Because as a buyer's attorney, I'm on one hand I have to balance zealously advocating for my client, but also getting the deal done. But when I know that I'm going to have an easy opportunity to get slammed dunk, so I'm throwing very aggressive reps at the seller, especially if I sense there's any type of distress going on. And if you're the seller, then you're going to want to make sure it's like, hey, do I really want to make that type of promise? Because this could come back and hurt me in the back end.
Can I be greedy and ask one more question?
Absolutely. I'll repeat your question.
Talk a little bit about incentive-based equity on the transition, keeping folks invested after the purchase. And quick note, everyone should follow Fareed and his MW colleagues on LinkedIn. Free legal advice. I learn something new every time I read a post. So yeah, that's it.
I appreciate that. I'm signing autographs later, so. No, I appreciate that.
Repeat that question.
So I think the question was on incentivizing sellers, post transactions,
Yeah.
and so I think that can be tricky. I think it depends on the nature of your seller. If it's someone that's later in life and they're looking to retire, I think it's going to be hard to incentivize them to kind of unless they've got alternative reasons they want to make sure the success of the employees, things like that. But I think for those it needs to be really monetary. It's things like earnouts if you can get them if they're not SBA loans. Things like your seller notes. If you're going to employ them, post closing, if they're not necessarily looking to retire or have health issues, I think you can structure employment agreements to kind of really incentivize them, which giving them equity, giving them bonuses, different things like that to kind of help them successfully transition the business under your ownership.
Yep.
I have a thought on that, if you don't mind. Earnouts are very tricky. And I think it depends on who
it's those relationships. You know, I think, you know, not just for the transition, but also, you know, I'm sorry, I forgot the gentleman's name with the distillery. Don. I think if you're trying to buy it, you know, he mentioned, you know, what he's looking for in someone that's looking to buy his business, but, you know, I don't think he's selling some, you know, New York private equity shop. I think he's looking for someone that's gonna carry on the legacy that he's trying to build. And so I think that you do that with, so, you know, with having a relationship with a seller like that is not just about, you know, the go forward plans, but also actually get them to engage with you on entertaining your offer to buy, you know, his business.
Vision. What's the vision?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Continuing the existing owner's vision.
Yeah, it's very important. Making sure that the employees aren't gonna get terminated on day one.
And by the way, if the current owner's vision is flawed, you have to be well versed enough to be able to explain why you think it's flawed, to get them to understand where you want to take it. Because if you can do that, they'll buy in even stronger.
Going off your point, when you said about CPA and keeping the attorneys, it does help when they both know each other and have worked before. In our case, that was very helpful, and we did the last round, so about $8 million. And it took us, 6 or 7 months, and we had to actually engage trial attorneys because we had difficult sellers.
Yeah,
And we had difficult suppliers, and we had to knock out a lot of personal agreements, and Pete guided us through the whole process. And when the trial attorneys came in, we're like still counting on Pete to help us through that also.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you lawyers talk.
Mitigate
So it was more like, I'm just listening, you lawyers talk, and I have to pipe in, I'll pipe in, but they helped us through the whole transaction, and in the end, it's been very, very, very helpful, so thank you very much for that.
And in case you didn't know, litigators and transaction attorneys do not think alike. So, if you have to have a litigator, you definitely wanna have your transaction guy kind of tempering the litigator.
Oh, yeah. That's smart. One last question,
Yeah.
right over there.
I was just gonna ask, do you guys service nationwide in all 50 states?
Yeah, because we're doing transactional work, our clients are buying and selling real estate and businesses across the country.
Awesome. Well, let's give them a quick round of applause. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete.
So we'll just finish out. I'll conclude with just a few things, obviously, about the acquisition IQ. Appreciating you guys obviously being here. We'll give credit where credit is due for you bringing out this beautiful car. My goodness. Yeah, give them a round of applause again.
When do we get to do donuts?
2 donuts? I don't know.
I just wanted to start it.
Don, thank you for opening your facility. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed his cocktail drinks. And then lastly, I'm gonna share, we've got a deal going on with the Acquisition IQ Network. It's a nationwide network. That's why I'm on the road. That's why we're meeting with entrepreneurs. That's why we're providing the value. So this is just a small piece of value that we have in person, but we also have our online network that goes all across the nation, and then we have our nationwide conference. So we'll have about 400 people out to our Salt Lake City conference, and with that, we'll be around round tables. We love to do things at round tables because it enables us to get to know each other a little bit better, more of an intimate setting, and we won't be in a distillery. We'll be in a conference center where everything will be very specifically focused on one, buy, sell, and also fun education. So that'll be through panel discussions, breakout sessions, and all of that. So that's $1,500 if you want to also be a part of the online network at a one-time cost. And then
When is
also,
that gonna be, the Salt Lake City deal?
it's going to be on September 3rd. So that's a Wednesday. It's a full day experience. You guys can elect to obviously stay one other day. And then my wife and I, as the experiential coordinator, she's helping to place everything on day 2. But we also have a VIP dinner. And then as a part of that conference, we're doing something we haven't done before. We haven't really seen it. That's where a business is going to be pitching, not to sell their company per se, but live, we're going through the intricate process of being able to sell their business on stage, and we'll also have people that are, helping them through the process of value creation. So I've really seen that it's like a car auction, but we'll do it for a real business live. So we'd love to have you obviously be a part. So come to me, or also I'll send everyone an email that we'll you guys can respond to. And then thank you so much for being here. Feel free to have your drinks, your food, the rest of the night.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, wait till you hear it.
All about negotiation and communication and
We'll have to see if we can come to that one on the third.
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah,
I didn't know yet. I don't mind if I can read these together.
you will, yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah, that was really great. Small room, maybe not the environment per se before, but here we are. Yeah, it's always good. I need to go home. I need to see what our
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, yeah, we're mostly.
Lots of exciting things happening out there.
There is, yeah. So we go to, I guess, over here in Dallas, McKinney, Bristol area.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of like where I live. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I think that we have a few investors that work with you guys, and we work with other attorneys, but would like to talk to y'all and maybe have y'all do some more paperwork and things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. We have
like three now hard money under clients that we do documents for.
Okay. We're doing a lot with land, and I think like right now, if I
Do you guys? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. is, well, you guys do the land acquisitions, and then you take on, I guess you issue debt to that investors can buy, basically, is that right?
Yep, so we'll buy 100 acres, 400 acres at a time.
With your own money or through like
Correct.
investor money?
No, both. Either
Okay.
with our own personal funds, or a lot of times we use private funds, so then we can recapitalize, scale, and do it all over again.
So that's where we could really help you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's we are probably one of the top security, like private securities firms in the country. And so I'd love to have you sit down with Adnan, who's in our office here in Dallas, and then kind of walk you through that process. If you guys are ever thinking about maybe creating a fund,
Yeah.
or if you're just doing the syndications on projects, we do a
Yeah.
ton of that.
We're actually kind of courting right now with a very small group, it's a private equity group that's looking to partner with us.
Okay.
So they do a lot of oil and gas, tech. We would be focused on the real estate side.
Right.
We would be managing all of that as well as we would either 50 to 70%, and then they would come in.
Right.
Because all
JV
that,
partner.
Yeah. A lot of that too might even be tokenized as well. So, anyways, we've got talks and meetings in July. I mean, this has kind of been like a 6-month process already. So we probably want you guys to look at documents. They've got their attorneys and stuff. We've been using other attorneys, but you guys specialize in this. Huh? So, Nixon, Daughtry, Houston, and then we have someone local here as well. You guys just do it on a bigger scale. So, and you're more familiar on the fund side, syndication side.
Funds and joint ventures, yeah,
Yeah.
we do a ton of it. We do really, really cool projects, data centers, all
There's
types
not
of.
a lot of difference between a joint venture and a fund, and it's really important to know what that difference is because
Yeah.
you get in trouble with the SEC. You
Right.
don't want to be on that target.
Sure.
Right. Joint, big difference.
I was going to ask you, so I just started buying.
Sometimes you see both, by the way. So,
Yeah.
like I've got
Yeah.
a data center structure where investor capital, but that's also going with the JV partner that's going to handle like the nuclear reactor and like all the data center on all the acres, and then but there's also an LP investor, so it kind of handles the full spectrum of
Yeah.
legal issues.
Okay. Well, so I would probably like you guys to look at the entitlement stuff as well as then once we get further along with this private equity group, talk more. And then I just started buying single family again. And then what I do is I buy them cheap, say at like $50,000. But then I turn around and I order finance them for $50,000. But I use investor funds usually on, if not ours, then I'll go use investor funds just on the acquisition side. It's just very basic. I give them like a 12% interest only type for a few years, 3-5 years type thing. Saying that,
Secured loan.
yeah, and I was gonna ask, do you guys do basic, simple things like that as well?
We do. We have a lot of. Well, the real estate team is actually one of the bigger ones right now. He's growing, so he'll probably surpass us. But on the real estate team, we have quite a few transactional people that handle that.
So you could help me with documents on the acquisition side as well as
And
with
we also
the
have
borrowing side.
highly skilled paralegals and the best title team in the state.
Yeah, we've got a really high, really top quality
I
title
didn't
team.
know y'all had a title team, so all of our deals can be.
One shop,
We're a steward
Okay.
title.
one shop.
We're a steward title.
It's really, I think clients really appreciate it because you can raise the investor capital. You can do the joint venture. You can do the real estate purchase, and then you can have title all in one shop.
Okay.
And we like it too because we'll
Once you
bundle
close
up.
a deal with our escrow officer, you'll never want to go with another title company.
Okay.
She's phenomenal.
Okay.
And I've worked with all of them in this state.
Okay.
And she's by far the best.
Awesome.
She can handle. It's amazing how many deals she can handle at once and still like kill it.
Yeah, she
It's
actually
amazing.
thrives. The more she has,
Yeah,
the
she's a
more
journaling
she
junkie.
thrives. Yeah.
So a lot of our single family homes right now are out of state in other states right now, but I could still go through you guys with the
Steward
title.
is a national.
Yeah. We're gonna start hosting. I think we're starting in August 12th. We have to make sure that's available, but we're part of a group, Private Money Club. Anyways, they do a lot of like infinite banking and things like that, and we're kind of
actually out around
I
Fort
mean,
Worth.
this is something I don't advertise because it's not really my thing, but I am an insurance broker.
Oh, okay.
And I do it for just certain clients that I know use affinity banking.
Okay.
I'm not selling like little term life.
Dude, let's talk about that.
I'm doing big stuff.
I was gonna look into it because I met someone that does it, but that's interesting. I didn't know you did that.
We don't sell it, we just use our policies on investing, but we are also part of a group that uses, like everyone's using theirs as well as self-directed IRAs and things like that.
Yep.
So it's kind of a dating site
beautiful.
for borrowers and lenders type thing. Saying that, we're gonna start posting once a month at the Fort Worth Club.
Oh, nice.
A local.
With the petroleum club up there, or is that different?
It's different,
Oh.
but it's at the Fort Worth Club. Yeah, the Petroleum Club meets there, but I believe they do.
And they play the theme song for Dallas because that's the only way I'll go.
I know you're on the Dallas side, we're on the Fort Worth side.
Are you too young for that joke? You're too
Yeah, but I have some. I know what you're saying. I'm not
Yeah.
completely lost.
Yeah.
I heard about it on TikTok.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. They did like a remake, right, or something
Yeah,
like that.
I just aged myself so bad.
No, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I got plenty of praise. But so I didn't know. I know like Dallas people and then Fort Worth people, but we're gonna be hosting for all of Texas a local monthly meetup because they're gonna be doing all the marketing for us.
Yeah.
It's nationally known.
Are you guys gonna have like a speakers or something like that?
Each month we're gonna bring in some education
Yeah.
and we will basically vet who gets to pitch maybe a deal or two because again it's just the idea of like let's bring lenders and borrowers together.
Yeah.
Let's bring education together. But it not be a pitch fest. Like I don't ever go to real estate meetups because it's just anyways, but this is a big we're not gonna push it but a lot of people use their policies to invest and stuff too. So anyways, we're gonna do that, but this might be good to have you guys some education.
Do you have Rizzo's card?
I'm
He's
sure
really
Rick's,
the guy that sets that up.
Yeah.
okay, I guess.
I mean, obviously, you can email any of us. Yeah, I would say, I'm happy to email any of us. I don't know if
Yeah,
Pete's got a card, but yeah, you can email any one of us, and we'll connect you to the right
I
person.
already gave him my card.
I think you gave it to. Wait, hold on. Was it yours? No, I did get yours. I think Rick
Then
got
he might have
yours.
given it to you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So,